Hey everybody, welcome to Unit 1, Lesson 6. Today we're going to talk about the Bronze Age, Babylonia, Anatolia, and Assyria. So, learning targets. Students can identify important developments and results of the Bronze Age and identify where and basic characteristics of the Assyrian Empire. So, your job. So, make sure you follow along with your study guide. Questions I ask you today that I just want you to answer on the Edpuzzle will be in blue text. Important concepts on your study guide will be in red text. Of course, if you have any questions, email me or Mrs. Hinkle or come to office hours. So let's get started. So we talked a little bit about last time with the Katal Hayuk about it transitioning from the Stone Age into more of a Metal Age. So we talked about actually a couple times ago about Paleolithic and Neolithic. So Paleolithic Stone Age was 2.5 to 8,000 BCE. And Neolithic was 8,000 to 3,000 BCE. So now we're going to start transitioning into the Bronze Age, which is about 3,000 to 1,000 BCE. Here's an example of some bronze weapons. So the first thing you need to know is that it wasn't like, oh, your turn 3000 BCE, let's switch from stone to metal. No, different areas in the world at different times transition from stone to the metals. So don't think it was like some weird switch. It's all about technology, which we're going to talk about a lot today. So in the Middle East, China and Greece, their Bronze Age was from about 3000 to 1000 BCE. And England kind of got a little bit of a late start in about 1900 BCE. So one thing that they really needed in order to have a Bronze Age is that they needed to have furnaces, tools, and materials to create that bronze. So one of the reasons why Europe was a little late on the Bronze Age, or specifically England, is you can see here, right? In the Middle East, in that dark blue, that means there is a lot of bronze and tin deposits. But up here in England, there's not so much tin. So resources is always a big one of why, there's a transition between technology. So where is bronze mined / found in the world? So bronze is not just a metal. I know some of you are probably going through chemistry right now, and you'll see on the periodic table, there is no bronze, okay? So bronze is made out of something called tin and copper. So here's an example of tin ore, here's copper ore. So ancient tin is really concentrated, especially in the Zagros Mountains, which is located in the Middle East, as well as Southeast China and Asia. And then ancient copper is one of the big deposits is in Egypt, with other smaller mines from the Middle East as well as China. So that's one of the reasons why they developed it first, is because they just simply had the metals. So why would someone want to use bronze instead of stone? Sharper. Yep, just sharper tools. Both for farming tools, cutting tools, and also, weapons. So, characteristics of the Bronze Age. So, you have copper and tin. What other materials do you need to melt them? So, you need wood. There's a problem. You are in ancient Israel, and there's no trees around. Where are you going to get this wood? That's right. You're going to trade. You're going to trade specifically from Babylonia and Anatolia. So, right here, ancient Jerusalem, it would be right here. Not a lot of trees around. So you would trade for other goods for these trees from Babylonia, which is right here, and again, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, as well as Anatolia, which is up here. They have also a lot of trees. So, I have to confess, next up, we will talk about the region of Babylonia, which is part of the Babylonian Empire. I am not doing this empire any justice talking about it. We could spend a whole semester on the Babylonian Empire, even more than that. I'm just really going to briefly go through it. But to kind of look here, so here's the Babylonian Empire. Here's Babylon. Of course, that is like the capital. And to this day, it's still a very large city in Iraq. Also, Sumer, that's another very famous ancient city, as well as Ur. So, Babylonia, that is the region within the Babylonian Empire. The Babylonian Empire was from 1894 to 1595 BCE. Again, it is between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, so super centrally located. And the city of Babylon itself had about 200,000 residents. It was very, very famous because it had these very large blue gates with gold in them. Of course, that's no longer standing today, but here's a replica of what it would have looked like. So they're also known for very large markets, right? So we talked about trading wood with other parts of the region that don't have wood, so they can melt those metals. Definitely trade between Western Asia, Europe, as well as Africa. They had very detailed jewelry, as you can see right here. They had a giant walled city, so it was great for defending against enemies. They also had a lot of really, really high-tech technology, such as irrigated croplands. So they would build the canals and the croplands, so the crops get water to grow. There's also something called the Epic of Gilgamesh, which I wish we could talk about. Oh, it is so cool. I love it. But we can't, because we just don't have enough time. But it's an amazing story if you ever want to read it. They also had sewers in Babylonia. Yes. So they would take kind of like caverns and streets for sewer and wastewater to go down. So it's away from houses and away from people. And that really cut down on the spread of diseases. They also invented what we know today as the Pythagorean theorem. And they also created time division by 60. And it is very famous because it's mentioned both in the the Old Testament as well as the Quran. So it's also mentioned in holy texts. So here you can see this is like one of the seven wonders of the ancient world is the Gardens of Babylon. Here's a fragment of some of the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is that awesome story I told you about. Here's kind of a drawing of what the walled city would have looked like. You can see the irrigation and the crop fields. And then here is a statue of Gilgamesh himself. Gilgamesh was not a real person, by the way, but yeah, it's just an awesome story. Anyway, so next up, we're also going to talk about Anatolia. So we talked a little bit about this before in some other slides, but again, it is where modern day Turkey is. Ooh, sorry, my voice is cracking. All right, so where Asia and Europe meet is Anatolia, okay? It was a really famous city. It was Troy, which there's a movie after, which is actually one of the movies we could watch for history through film, but I don't pick it this year. And then it also had a lot of metal and mineral deposits. It was also very famous because it had grapes, and what does grapes give you? It gives you wine, which was a very popular trade item, but also made pottery wheels to make high quality pottery to put their high quality wine in. And also, they improved wheels for transportation, and that meant the farther you could go with your wagon, the more things you could trade, the more money for Anatolia. So, next up, we're going to talk about the Assyrian Empire, which you can see here is just above Babylonia, and that lasted from about 2100 BCE to 605 BCE. So, the big city is called the city of Assur. It was located on the Tigris. Here's a modern day map with where Assur is located, by the way. So if it was located on the Tigris, that meant that their big transportation was riverboats. It was also a really important meeting point between Anatolia, so up here in modern Turkey, and Babylonia, which was just to its south. So anything going between those two empires would go through Assyria. It also had metals from Anatolia, textiles like clothes, materials, other potteries from Babylonia, and also tin from Iran. So they were a great trading city. They were also known for their large donkey caravans. So what a caravan is a group of merchants that are transporting goods on the back of animals. So like men typically led caravans as well, um, instead of the women, but in a reading, might change your mind about that. So if men were off with the caravans, who ran the trade businesses? Well, they were gone. That's right. The women ran the businesses, which is really cool. And there's a lot of text around these women running these businesses while the men are away on the caravans. So the men, it could be years for them to get from like Assyria to Babylonia and then back up to Anatolia. Um, so how do historians know this happened? So there were a bunch of houses buried in dirt in the city of Assur that had cuneiform tablets with letters written from women. And this is what you're going to read for the U1-L8 assignment. So here's an example of one of those tablets here. So you're probably thinking like, wait a moment, what the heck is a cuneiform tablet? I've never heard of that before. So cuneiform, that's the oldest known written language that is still like interpreted today, which is about 2400 BCE. The cuneiform symbols, so it's like an alphabet. So here's kind of a zoomed in picture so you can see it's not just like pictographs or something like that. It's actually an alphabet used for multiple ancient languages. So it's kind of like how English and Spanish, right? They're two different languages, but we use pretty much the same alphabet. It's going to be the same thing for the cuneiform symbols. So some cuneiform tablets can be quite large, like this. Some are small that you can just fit it into the palm of your hand. So I've actually held cuneiform tablets before. It's really interesting. I don't know how to read them. I tried. I failed very effortlessly. But apparently it's not actually that hard to learn. All right, so clay tablets, or cuneiform tablets, are clay tablets used to write message. So during like the beginning of writing, there was not paper. There was papyrus paper, specifically in Egypt, but it was super labor intensive, and it was only found where papyrus trees grow. So that's why they use these clay tablets. So they would take soft, wet clay with like a stylus, which looks like a pencil, and then they would write in the wet clay. It would dry, it would harden, and as you know, it lasts for thousands of years, because today we still have them around. You can see some are pretty fragmented. And here's an example of papyrus, by the way. So we're going to end it there for now. So today we learned about Bronze Age, Babylonia, Anatolia, Assyrian Empire, specifically the city of Assur, and cuneiform tablets. So next up, you are going to do U1-L7 Ancient World video choice. So in this document, I would show you it right now, but I don't have it done quite yet. There's 4 YouTube links. Under each of the YouTube links are boxes with questions corresponding to the videos. You're going to choose just two of the 4 YouTube links to watch and answer the questions below each of those links. Optional, if you watch all 4 of the YouTube videos and answer all of the questions correctly, you will get 2 extra credit points. So that's just kind of a fun way to get some extra credit in this class. After U1-L7, you're going to do U1-L8, Old Assyrian Correspondence Document Analysis. So those are actually going to be primary source documents written by the women of Assur, and they're writing to their male family members who are usually off in the caravans, and they're the ones behind running the businesses. So they're going to talk about business, supplies. I think the last one's also about marriage. During this, you are going to use ACAPs, which we talked about a little bit last week. And if you have questions about ACAPs, please let us know. So, questions. Email your teacher, either Mrs. Hinkle or Miss Corey. And if you want to learn more about anything we talked about today, please email me. I'd love to talk about it. Ancient history is the best. My office hours, you can also stop by. Anyone can stop by. 12 to 1, Mrs. Hinkle's are Wednesdays 2 to 3. And of course, if you're in my class, please do the weekly check-in. It's optional, but I love responding to you. So that is all I have. Thanks for watching.